تمام.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So inshallah ta'ala we'll be continuing concerning discussing the book with Sheikh Salim, which is the book Umdatul Fiqh, which we started yesterday and we'll be continuing today inshallah. تفضل شيخ.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. يقول المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى: باب ما يفسد الصوم، يعني أمور إذا فعلها الصائم يفطر، يعني فسد صومه. نعم، مفسدات الصوم، مبطلات الصوم. طبعا في هذا الباب هو سيذكر شيئين، سيذكر أشياء تبطل الصوم وسيذكر أشياء لا تبطل الصوم. سيبدأ الآن بالكلام عن الأمور التي تفسد وتبطل الصوم. نعم.
So Shaykh Ahmedullah, he started with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then sending the salutation upon the Prophet Islam. Then he went into the book by mentioning that as for this discussion regarding concerning those things that if they are done, then it will make the person's fast invalid. So those things can be put into two categories. The first regarding, that has been mentioned, those things that if they are done, that it will make the person's fast invalid.
قال رحمه الله: من أكل ومن أكل، يعني في نهار رمضان، كل هذا في نهار رمضان. ومن أكل أو شرب أي شيء، أكل أي شيء، شرب أي شيء، أو استعطى، استعطى يعني أخذ الدواء عن طريق الأنف، هذا معنى استعطى، أخذ الدواء عن طريق الأنف. أو أوصل إلى جوفه شيئا، أي شيء كان، سواء كان مأكولا أو غير مأكول، أوصله إلى الجوف، الجوف الذي هو يعني باطن الإنسان. من أي موضع كان، يعني أدخل إلى جوفه إلى بطنه أي شيء من أي موضع كان، سواء كان عن طريق الفم أو عن غير طريق الفم. أو استقاء، استقاء يعني تعمد إخراج القيء، أكرمكم الله، تمام، أخرج القيء. استقاء يعني طلب خروج القيء، مثلا بأن يعني يضع إصبعه في فمه فيشعر يعني بهذا الشعور المزعج فيخرج الطعام الذي بطنه، هذا استقاء. طيب، هذه كلها مفطرات، كلها مفطرات. أو استمنى، الاستمناء معروف وهو يعني أن يخرج الإنسان المني من ذكره بأي طريقة كانت، بأي طريقة، هذا يفطر. نعم. أو قبل أو لمس فأمنى، نعم، إذا قبل مثلا زوجته فخرج منه المني هذا يفسد صومه. أو لمس فأمنى يعني لمس زوجته فخرج منه المني، هذا أيضا يفسد صومه. نعم. طيب نقف إلى هنا ثم نكمل إن شاء الله.
Now to Shaykh Ahmedullah that start discussing concerning of those things that invalid the person's siyam, meaning that the person's fast is broken. So the first of those things that are discussed is regarding concerning one, regarding eating and drinking. So he mentioned regarding concern that these are things that invalid the person's siyam. So anything that is eaten or the person takes into his body by eating or drinking, then this will consider the person's fast to be invalid. And if this is done during the daylight hours of Ramadan, so during the daylight hours of Ramadan, if eating and drinking of any type or anything occurs, then this will consider a person's fast as being invalid. The second of those things he mentioned regarding of those things, anything that is taken also into the body by way of the nose, so anything the person was to take like some form of medication and it goes through the nose, then this also will consider a person's fast to be invalid. Of those things also, that anything that is taken into the body, that goes to the stomach, into the person's abdomen, the person's stomach of any kind, then this also will be considered of those things that will consider a person's fast to be invalid. So anything that gets into the body and go into the stomach, then it's all being the person's fast invalid. And also this can occur by any place in the body. So anything that from the person's body, it goes into the person's body, but then goes into his stomach, then also it is considered to be of those things that cause the person's soul to be invalid. Also it mentioned the next of those things, if the person was to cause themselves to throw up, or the person he throws up, so the person calls himself to throw up by, for example, the person put his finger into his mouth and cause himself to throw up, then this also invalidates the person's siyam. Also of those things that he mentioned, that the person of a discharge, so the person of a discharge of semen discharge, so this also will cause, so the person by any way, so the person wants to have a discharge, a semen discharge, then by in any way that it occurs, then this will consider the person fast to be invalid. Also of those things concerning that the person was to kiss of his wife, and also it caused concern the person of a semen discharge, so kissing of one's wife, the wife, and also mentioned regarding lips, which is also like fondling of one's wife, so touching of one's wife, and it caused a discharge from the person, then this will consider the person fast to be invalid. And then it mentioned regarding concerning أيوة إلى هنا.
نعم. إذا قبل امرأته أو لمس امرأته فخرج منه المني فصومه فاسد، هذا لا إشكال فيه. لكن الإشكال هو في الثاني، قال أو أمذى، يعني إذا خرج منه مذي، يعني قبل امرأته أو لمس امرأته فخرج منه المذي. وتعرفون الفرق بين المني والمذي. المني هو الذي يخرج دفقا بلذة، وهو الذي يخلق منه الإنسان، وهو الذي يوجب الغسل. أما المذي بالذال فهو يكون قليلا خفيفا لزجا، وهو يخرج بسبب التفكير في الشهوة أو بسبب يعني التقبيل أو اللمس، وهو لا يوجب الغسل وإنما يوجب الغسل، يعني أن يغسل المكان وينقض الوضوء. لكن هل يفسد الصوم لو خرج من الإنسان مذي بسبب تقبيل أو بسبب لمس؟ هل يفسد صومه؟ المؤلف ماذا يقول؟ يقول نعم. وهذا طبعا مذهب الحنابلة، هذا مذهب الحنابلة. هناك أقوال أخرى تقول لا يفسد صومه، لكن الأحسن أن الإنسان يتجنب هذا في نهار رمضان قدر المستطاع احتياطا.
So the Shaykh Hafidullah, he continued discussing regarding concerning if the person was to kiss off his wife or to fondle off his wife, and then he have a semen discharge, then this without any discussion, or this is clear regarding the person's siyam is considered to be invalid. The discussion regarding the ulama is regarding then he mentioned regarding concerning that if the person have a semen discharge or madhi, which is the Shaykh he mentioned, there's a distinction between both regarding al-mani, which is concerned to be semen discharge. Then we have madhi, which is the person that is so madhi is when the person have a pre-sexual discharge. So it's not per se when the person have, so it's a pre-sexual discharge, and which is known in much more thinner and the likes. So with regarding concerning a semen discharge, that will make the person fast invalid. And also it requires the person to perform al-ghusl in that case. So the person of that type of discharge, it requires that the person will make ghusl, and also its fast is invalid. As for the case regarding concerning al-madhi, which is concerned that the person will wash that area that it get onto, and also second, the person is not required to perform ghusl, rather he performs wudu that is sufficient regarding al-madhi, which is the pre-sexual discharge. Then the Shaykh mentioned, as for what is mentioned here by the author of this book, that is more inclined that both that madhi also may invalid the person's siyam, or to break the person siyam. And the Shaykh mentioned that's the madhab of the Hanabila. So it's the view of the Hanabila, even though you find others amongst the ulama who take the view that it does not per se invalid the person's siyam, but that's the view that is mentioned here by the author.
قال أو كرر النظر حتى أنزل، يعني لو أن إنسانا نظر إلى امرأة وكرر النظر إليها وأدام النظر إليها فارتفعت يعني شهوته فأنزل بسبب كثرة نظره إلى هذه المرأة، أنزل، فحينئذ يفسد صيامه. أنزل المني، نعم أنزل المني فإنه يفسد صيامه. نعم.
The next what is discussed regarding concerning if a person was to think repeatedly regarding concerning about a woman, so the person thinking about concerning sexual matters or this nature, and then a person have a semen discharge, then this will cause the person's siyam to be invalid. So by thinking and having a discharge, and a discharge is by way of semen, then this will consider the person fast to be invalid.
قال أو حجم أو احتجم. الحجامة معروفة وهو إخراج يعني الدم الفاسد أو ما شابه ذلك، فالحاجم والمحجوم كلاهما يفطر، هكذا جاء في الحديث. نعم.
So next is concerning discussion. The next is regarding the person who have cupping or blood cupping done to them, or the person who does it for someone. So he mentioned regarding concern that of those people who siyam is considered to be invalid, that a person who have blood cupping is done for them, or the person who carries this out for someone else. then as in the hadith that there's a hadith regarding this matter regarding, but the person was it done and the person who carries out, then their siyam is invalid.
قال رحمه الله عامدا ذاكرا، يعني كل هذه المسائل تقريبا 10 مسائل ذكرنا من الأمور التي تفطر. كل هذه الأمور يشترط فيها شرطان. الشرط الأول أن يكون عامدا، يعني متعمدا، فعل هذا بقصد. طيب، فهذا هو الذي يفطر. الشرط الثاني ذاكرا، يعني ليس إيش؟ لا عكس الذاكر، أحسنت، الناسي. إذن الذاكر عكسه الناسي، والعامد ما عكسه؟ المتعمد ما عكسه؟ المكره أيضا، جيد، المكره، والمخطئ أيضا، المخطئ. إذن من الذي يفطر؟ من فعل هذه الأمور عمدا ومتذكرا، ليس ناسيا، متذكرا أنه إيش؟ أنه صائم. أحسنت. قال عامدا ذاكرا لصومه فسد صومه، أي فسد صومه في كل المسائل التي قرأناها قبل قليل.
So next that is discussed here by the author of the book, he mentioned amidan dhakiran. So of those persons who that these rules apply regarding all those things that have been mentioned regarding things that invalid the person's siyam if they are carried out with these two conditions. So the conditions, if these things are done by this person, one, the person doesn't intentionally, so the person actually did this intentionally, then the person's siyam. And also the second condition, that it was done with the person also doing this, that he's mindful, that he knows that he's doing it, or you remember that he's doing concerning his siyam. So those are two conditions. So as for the first, that mentioned the person, it does it intentionally, it will remove the person who did this out of error. And also dhakiran would include, would the person did that knowingly, that then this would exclude concerning a person who does this out of, did it out of forgetfulness. So regarding all those things we mentioned close around 10 things that invalid the person's siyam. If those things are done with those two conditions, intentionally, and also the person having awareness of what they're doing, then the person's siyam is considered to be invalid.
نعم. قال وإن فعله ناسيا أو مكرها لم يفسد. كل هذه الأمور التي ذكرناها لو فعل واحدا منها وهو ناس ليس عليه شيء. أو نعم، أو كان مكرها، يعني أجبره أحد قال له افعل كذا وإلا قتلناك، وإلا يعني فعلنا كذا وكذا، هذا مكره، فهذا أيضا صومه صحيح. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا.
So what I mentioned next regarding the author here, he mentioned regarding if these things that were mentioned, so all those things that were previously mentioned, if they were done, that they were carried out, but the person did it out of forgetfulness. So the person did these things out of forgetfulness, then his siyam is not considered to be invalid. And also it mentioned second regarding that if the person was to carry out these things, also by way, if he was forced, he was coerced into doing of these things, then again, with all the things that were mentioned, his siyam is not considered to be invalid. So as mentioned, so that's concerning of those things that aywa. And the ayat I mentioned is that if we did out of forgetfulness, then they are not somewhat held to account.
ثم قال وإن طار إلى حلقه ذباب أو غبار إلى آخره لم يفسد صومه. يعني إنسان يمشي وهو يعني فتح فمه فدخل إلى فمه ذباب، طيب هو ليس متعمدا لهذا، فهل يفطر؟ لا يفطر. أو دخل غبار بالخطأ وهو ليس متعمدا، لا يفطر.
So what is mentioned next regarding concerning that if dust or things of that or a fly was to get into the person's mouth, then concerning that this matter, it does not invalid the person's siyam. So the person may swallow or get into his mouth, fly into his mouth, a fly or also a dust may get into the person's mouth, then these things does not cause the person's fast to be considered invalid.
قال رحمه الله أو تمضمض أو استنشق فوصل إلى حلقه ماء. إنسان كان يتوضأ وهو صائم فتمضمض واستنشق، طيب بالخطأ دون عمد دخل إلى حلقه ماء، هل يفطر؟ هو ليس متعمدا، هل يفطر؟ ليس عليه شيء. نعم.
So what is mentioned also next regarding the person who is performing wudu and he make tamadmad or istinshaq, that sniffing water into his nose and also into his mouth. If this was to occur regarding this matter, with a person out of error, that water get into his mouth, water get into down his throat, then this does not consider the person's siyam to be invalid. and the person didn't do it intentionally. It was not done intentionally, but it occurred out of error.
قال أو فكر فأنزل، يعني إنسان كان يفكر في امرأة، فمع التفكير في هذه المرأة نزل منه مني، هل صومه يفسد؟ لا يفسد. لماذا؟ لأنه لم يلمس امرأة ولم يقبل امرأة ولم ينظر إلى امرأة، فهو لم يفعل شيء من هذه الأمور، لم يلمس ولم يقبل ولم ينظر، وإنما كان فقط يفكر، ففكر في امرأة فنزل منه مني. ما حكم صومه؟ صومه صحيح، صومه صحيح.
So what is mentioned next regarding concern, the next case regarding if a person was to think about a female, but then he had a discharge, a person thinking about a female, then he had a discharge, but he didn't per se touch her, he didn't kiss her or fondle with her, then in this case, regarding that siyam is not considered to be invalid, as the person did not, he just had the thought, but no actions was attached to it, so the person in this case, his siyam is considered to be still valid.
نعم. أو قطر في إحليله. الإحليل هو فتحة الذكر، الفتحة التي يخرج منها المني أو المذي أو البول أكرمكم الله، فلو وضع قطرات في هذه الفتحة دخل القطرات أو دخل هذا الدواء إلى مثانته، طيب، فحينئذ لا يفسد صومه.
Okay, it's a bit difficult.
Yeah,
to,
difficult, I know.
to
You can
mention.
skip it. It's not important. No one going to do it anyway.
Hey, so this part a bit. So if the person was concerned that the male was to, that the male organ, that it has an opening where things come out from it, right? If the person was to put things up into it, then this doesn't invalidate the person's siyam. Allah musta'an.
نعم. طيب، أو احتلم هذا مهم لأنه يسأل عنه الناس كثيرا. الاحتلام هو معروف أن الإنسان يكون نائما فيرى في النوم شيئا، سواء رأى أو لا يرى. استيقظ في الصباح فوجد في ملابسه المني، وهذا يحصل كثيرا للشباب، خصوصا الشباب غير متزوجين يحصل لهم هذا كثيرا. الاحتلام معروف، فالاحتلام هل يفسد الصوم؟ لا يفسد الصوم، لأنه ليس من فعل الإنسان.
So the next that is discussed concern a person who may have what is referred to as a wet dream. So the person that may have a wet dream, so the person after waking up that they notice that they have some form of discharge, then what's the implication regarding this, regarding his siyam? So does this act of wet dream, does it invalidate the person's siyam? The Shaykh mentioned it does not. So it may occur more common regarding the youths, especially if they are not married, they may have this type of wet dream.
نعم. أو ذرعه القيء. ذرعه القيء يعني هجم عليه القيء، يعني هو لم يتعمد، هو لم يتعمد إخراج الطعام من بطنه، لم يضع إصبعه كما ذكرنا قبل قليل، لا، وإنما يعني لأمر ما كان الطعام فاسدا أو شيء، فأراد الطعام أن يخرج من فمه فخرج. هل صومه فاسد؟ لا، صومه صحيح، لم يفسد صومه.
So the next of those things that are covered regarding of those things, regarding its relation regarding siyam, is regarding the person that threw up. So the person where it kind of somewhat came out, the vomit, it came out on its own. So it was not where the person intentionally did so, but by way of it come out because the person may have ate something which is not to his liking, and because of this, it kind of it came out by way of vomit. So does this act of the vomit coming out on its own, does it invalidate the person's siyam? That by this, that his sawm is considered to be still valid.
الآن سيختم المؤلف الباب بثلاث مسائل. يقول المسألة الأولى: ومن أكل يظنه ليلا، يعني هو أكل مثلا السحور، هو يظن أنه ما زال في الليل، ما زال لم يؤذن إيش؟
فجر.
لم يؤذن الفجر، هو يظن هذا، فأكل، فلما أكل قال فبان نهارا، يعني اتضح له بعد أن رأى الساعة أنه أكل بعد الإيش؟ بعد أذان الفجر، فما حكم الصوم؟ قال أفطر، يعني صومه فاسد، فعليه أن يقضي.
So the Shaykh mentioned, Hafidullah, that what will be covered next is regarding the three matters that will be covered, that he discussed. The first of these matters regarding, if a person was to think that it's still night, the person think that it's still night, where he believe that is not Fajr now has entered. So he ate thinking it's still light night. but then it become clear to him later after that's actually that the night has ended and the day already started, but he had ate during that time where he thought it was the night hours, but in reality it was the day. What's regarding that person's siyam, that in reality that his sawm is considered to be invalid.
المسألة الثانية ومن أكل شاكا في طلوع الفجر، يعني هو لما أكل هو ليس متأكدا أن الفجر قد طلع، يعني قد أذن الفجر، هو يشك لكنه ليس متأكدا، فقال مدام أنا يعني لست متأكدا أن الأذان قد أذن فأنا سأبقى على الأصل. ما هو الأصل؟ أنه لا نحن نتكلم عن الليل الآن. الأصل أنه لا. طيب مرة أخرى، ومن أكل شاكا في طلوع الفجر، يعني هو الآن متى؟ في وقت الليل. طيب قلنا له هل طلع الفجر؟ قال لا أدري، ممكن طلع الفجر ممكن لم يطلع، إذن هو يشك، هو في شك، فقال أنا سأتمسك بالأصل. ما هو الأصل؟ الأصل أن الليل ما زال موجودا، ودخول الفجر هذا إلى الآن غير متيقن، فهو أخذ باليقين الذي هو بقاء الليل، فبناء عليه أكل. ما حكم صومه؟ قال لم يفسد صومه لأنه بنى على اليقين. حسنت.
So the next matter to discuss regarding that you mentioned regarding man kana ashak, that a person who have doubt regarding concerning that fajr has actually entered. So the person has this doubt regarding concerning that, so it's not fully certain that fajr actually time have come in. So regarding concerning, so the person, because of this, he can somewhat still owe to the asl. With the asl is that he's allowed to continue to eat as the daylight is still in, because he's not clear or not certain that fajr has actually entered. So the person, if the person was to eat during that time where he has doubt regarding that did fajr actually comes in, so he ate thinking it's still possible the night, that the Shaykh mentioned that based upon this, that the person which is still holding to what is the asl, the origin, which is it's still night until it is clear that it's actually day. He mentioned the person's siyam is still considered to be valid because he still held to the asl, which is thinking still it is night hours and not the daylight hours. So he ate based upon this.
لم يفسد صومه صحيح.
So his siyam is still considered to be valid. His siyam is still considered to be valid in this case.
نعم.
هل الفرق بين الحالتين هو الشك؟ الأول يظن أنه ليل وكان نهارا.
نعم.
والثاني فهو الشاك.
نعم.
أنه
نعم كأن هذا هو الفرق بينهما. نعم الله يبارك فيه. المسألة الأخيرة قال وإن أكل شاكا في غروب الشمس. الآن ننتقل إلى وقت آخر. قبل قليل كنا نتكلم عن الإنسان يأكل السحور، لا الآن نتكلم عن الإنسان يريد يأكل الإفطار، يريد أن يأكل طعام الإفطار أو الفطور. فهذا الإنسان قال وإن أكل شاكا في غروب الشمس، هو لما أكل ليس متيقنا أن الشمس قد غربت. قلنا له هل غربت الشمس؟ قال لا أدري، ممكن غربت وممكن لم تغرب. فذهب وأكل وهو لم يتيقن بعد أن الشمس غربت. قال وإن أكل شاكا في غروب الشمس، نعم فسد صومه. نعم.
So the next case that is of those three masail or these three matters discussed, which is the last regarding this. So it mentioned regarding in akala shak, if the person eats and is in doubt regarding that the sun has actually set. So he's in doubt that the sun actually sets. Then the Shaykh mentioned that what we had discussed in the first two cases is regarding the person eating in the morning. Now we're discussing concerning what comes at the end of the day, which is the person concerning that is it time have entered for him to break his fast. So the person that he ate doubting regarding concerning the sun had actually set. So the Shaykh mentioned in this case that the person's siyam is considered to be invalid. Its siyam is considered to be invalid.
نعم فسد صومه. طيب من يقول لنا لماذا فسد صومه؟
So the question is concerning why we say that the person's siyam is invalid in this third case.
نعم لماذا؟ نعم أحسنت وكان يجب عليه أن يأخذ باليقين. وما هو اليقين؟ أحسنت بقاء النهار. الأصل أن النهار باق، ولا ينتقل الإنسان من هذا اليقين إلى شيء آخر إلا بيقين، كما هو القاعدة المعروفة: اليقين لا يزول إلا لا، اليقين لا يزول إلا باليقين. اليقين لا يزول إلا بيقين مثله. بمعنى لو جاء شك فالشك لا يزيل اليقين. طيب ما الذي يرفع اليقين؟ يقين آخر. فإذا أنا متيقن أن النهار موجود، متيقن، وأشك في غروب الشمس، تمام؟ فإذا لا أنتقل إلى غروب الشمس، يعني لا أخذ بحكم الإفطار حتى أتيقن أن الشمس قد غابت. فهو أخطأ عندما ترك اليقين وذهب إلى الشك.
So the question was asked regarding concerning that.
نعم.
So the question was asked regarding concerning what the reason why in this third case that we mentioned that the person's siyam is considered to be invalid because he has doubt regarding the sun setting. So as it was answered regarding that, because the person was not certain that the time that actually came in. So because the person wasn't certain that the time actually came in for him to break his fast, and he do so out of doubt, then based upon this, that his siyam is considered to be invalid, based upon that what is the case is that in that case, that the person is still considered to be during the daylight hours because he's not certain that the sun actually did set. And so that's the general gist of what was mentioned.
بالضبط. نعم. الأسئلة معلش في نهاية الدرس إن شاء الله، حتى فقط نريد نختم كتاب الصيام اليوم. قال رحمه الله: باب صيام التطوع. التطوع هو ما كان زيادة على الفريضة. فالفريضة عندنا رمضان، فكل ما يصومه الإنسان في غير رمضان الأصل أنه تطوع. طيب ما هو أفضل أنواع صيام التطوع؟ لو قال الإنسان أنا أريد أن أصوم كل يوم، أريد أن أصوم حياتي كلها، هل هذا مستحب؟ لا، هذا يسمى صيام، ماذا يسمى في السنة؟ صيام الدهر. نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن صيام الدهر. ما هو صيام الدهر؟ أن تصوم عمرك كله، هذا نهى عنه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
So we have now completed regarding what is mentioned regarding those things that invite the person's siyam, that we'll go to the next chapter, which is concerning bab as-siyam at-tatawwa. So these acts that are considered to be siyam tatawwa are those additional type of fasting that are non-compulsory, that can be done. So we had discussed before regarding the fasting which is compulsory, which is Ramadan. Now there's additional type of siyam fasting that can be done. So the Shaykh, he mentioned that so for example, a person that he wants to fast every day. So the person decide that he want to fast every day. Is this something which is permissible outside Ramadan? So is this something which is permissible? So the Shaykh mentioned that is not something which is permissible to be done, to be fasting every day. And the Prophet Islam, he referred to this fast as concerning siyam ad-dahr, where the person is like he's fasting all the time. He's fasting all the time. So this type of fasting, the person wants to fast all his days, all the time, is not something which is allowed.
قال رحمه الله: أفضل الصيام. إذا ما هو أفضل أنواع الصيام؟ قال: أفضل الصيام صيام داود عليه السلام، كان يصوم يوما ويفطر يوما، يعني أنه يصوم نصف حياته، نصف حياته صائم ونصف حياته مفطر. هذا أفضل، هذا أعلى درجات الصيام بعد رمضان. نعم.
So as for the more preferred of those fasting that is mentioned regarding, and you have siyam of different types. So the one that stands out as being of the more preferred of the fasting is the person I mentioned that, the siyam of Dawood, the fasting of Dawood, where the person, he fasts one day, miss one day, and he rotates. So he fasts every other day, would be the system of his fasting. So this person, for his life, he'll be fasting like half of his life, he'll be involved in fasting. This is the fast of Dawood, and this is considered to be the highest degree of fasting.
نعم. أما من أراد أن يصوم شهرا كاملا، فما هو أفضل شهر يصام كاملا بعد رمضان؟ قال: وأفضل الصيام بعد شهر رمضان شهر الله الذي تدعونه المحرم، يعني الشهر المحرم. هذا أفضل شهر يصام بعد شهر رمضان. نعم.
So after this concerning that, what's considered to be the most virtuous of the months to be fast after Ramadan? So outside of Ramadan, which month is considered to be the most virtuous month to fast? That what is mentioned regarding concerning Shahr Muharram. So this month of Muharram, then this is considered to be a preferred month for a person to be involved in fasting.
وكما تلاحظون نحن بدأنا ننزل، فبدأنا بالشخص الذي يصوم حياته كله، قلنا هذا منهي عنه. ثم الشخص الذي يصوم إيش؟ نصف الحياة، قلنا هذا هو أفضل شيء. ثم أقل من نصف الحياة ما هو أن يصوم شهرا واحدا. الآن أقل من الشهر أن يصوم 10 أيام. هذه متى؟ قال وما من أيام العمل الصالح فيهن أحب إلى الله من 10 ذي الحجة. فهذه أفضل يعني 10 أيام. طبعا اليوم العاشر لا يصام، لكن احنا نقول 10 مجازا. لماذا؟ لأن أحسنت، لأن اليوم العاشر هو عيد، لكن هي 9 أيام في الحقيقة. نعم.
So the Shaykh Hafidullah, he mentioned regarding when we started regarding these non-compulsory siyam that can be done, that we start concerning that the case regarding that a person fasting every day in his life, and we mentioned that is not something which is allowed to be done. Then the next degree to this is regarding a person fasting half of his life, which is concerning that the most that is allowed regarding the siyam of Dawood. Then we mentioned to the next degree of this is the person fasting regarding on a monthly basis, so of those months regarding concerning the month of Muharram. Then the next degree to this is regarding concerning the person in that month, concerned that the person fasting 10 days of the month. So it is mentioned regarding concerning of that which is the person fasting concerning that the days of Dhul Hijjah. So those 10 days of Dhul Hijjah that a person tried to fast these days. But the Shaykh mentioned that I have something to be mindful of regarding concerning the actual 10th day, the 10th day of that month of Dhul Hijjah. That day itself is not fast. So you actually fast 9 days, not 10 days per se, as the 10th day of that month, which is we consider to be Yawm al-Eid. So one is not allowed to fast that day.
الآن ننزل، كنا قبل قليل قلنا 9 أو 10، الآن أقل من 9 و10 هو 6. قال ومن صام رمضان وأتبعه ب6 من شوال فكأنما صام الدهر. طبعا هذه كلها أحاديث، نعم.
So what comes after this regarding concerning, then we have concerning what comes after regarding a person fasting 6 days of the month of Shawwal. The person fasting 6 days of the month of Shawwal. So as mentioned, that's what we're going we're going from different degrees down.
نعم. والآن أيضا أقل، قال وصيام عاشوراء كفارة السنة. نعم، صيام يوم عاشوراء. نعم، العاشر من شهر محرم، فيستحب للإنسان أن يصومه. ما فضيلة من يصوم عاشوراء؟ يكفر ذنوب سنة كاملة، يكفر الصغائر وليس الكبائر. ويوم عرفة كفارة سنتين، من صام يوم عرفة هذا يوم واحد فقط يكفر سنتين أيضا الصغائر، أما الكبائر فلا بد من توبة. ولا يستحب لمن كان بعرفة أن يصومه. الحاج لا يستحب له أن يصوم لأن الصوم يتعبه في الحج، فلا يستحب له أن يصوم. أما من كان خارج الحج فهو الذي يصوم يوم عرفة.
So next in line regarding of those siyam that is allowed to be done is the person fasting siyam Ashura. So the person fasting that day of Ashura, as it mentioned, that is a kafara that it expiates the person's sin for a year. So the person fasting that day is also of those ones that are allowed. Then next in line the person fasting Yom al-Arafah, or Yom Arafah, where the person fasts that day, which it expiate 2 years. They expiate 2 years for the person's sin. So as for concerning fasting of Yom Arafah, where it is not something which is recommended for the person who's actually performing Hajj. But as for those people who are not performing Hajj, then it is something which is recommended for them to fast.
قال ويستحب صيام أيام البيض. أيام البيض التي هي 13 و14 و15 من كل شهر، هذه يستحب أن تصام. والاثنين والخميس أيضا، كل اثنين وكل خميس يستحب للإنسان أن يصوم. نعم.
So next in line regarding of those siyam that is encouraged to be done is the person fasting Ayyam al-Bid. So that the white days, which is considered to be of the month, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th day of that month, which is the Islamic calendar year, the Islamic calendar month, for the person to fast those 3 days, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th. So those days are recommended to be fast. And also regarding the person in general, fasting of those recommended days, which is in the week, is Mondays and Thursdays. So fasting every Monday and Thursdays, those days also recommended to be fast.
قال والصائم المتطوع أمير نفسه، إن شاء صام وإن شاء أفطر ولا قضاء عليه. نعم، يعني إذا صام الإنسان أي يوم من هذه الأيام التي ذكرناها كلها فهو أمير نفسه. ما معنى أمير نفسه؟ يعني هو حر، فإذا أراد أن يكمل الصوم يكمل، وإذا أراد أن يقطع الصوم ويفطر يجوز له ذلك. مثلا إذا صمت يوم الاثنين أو يوم الخميس وفي منتصف النهار يعني قررت أن تقطع الصوم حتى لو كان بدون سبب يجوز، ليس عليك شيء وليس عليك قضاء.
So next, regarding the type of siyam, regarding that they mentioned, concern as for the person who's fasting, that tatawwa, the voluntary fasting, that is the one that can make that decision, is the one to make that decision. And the Shaykh, he mentioned that concerning that, he mentioned Amir al-Nafsi, that the person that he can make a decision, that he has like a freedom, he has like a choice, that if he wishes, he can fast and complete that day. But if Shaykh mentioned, if the person, for example, that he wishes, he start fasting and he decide that during the middle of the day he wants to discontinue his fast, then this can be done, and there's nothing for the person to make up regarding this.
نعم. وكذلك سائر التطوع، يعني جميع الأعمال التطوعية يجوز للإنسان أن يكمل ويجوز له أن يقطع. مثلا لو صليت ركعتين، ما حكم ركعتين من تحية المسجد؟ سنة. فلو بدأت في الركعة الأولى ثم أردت أن تقطع الصلاة يجوز. هل عليك إثم؟ لا. هل عليك إعادة أو قضاء؟ لا، لا عليك شيء. هكذا كل العبادات من صلاة أو غيرها، واضح؟ ليس خاصة فقط بالصيام، أي عبادة ليست واجبة عليك بدأت فيها ثم أردت أن تقطعها فلا شيء عليك، ولا إعادة ولا قضاء ولا أي شيء. نعم، إلا الحج والعمرة لهما أحكام خاصة سنعرف الآن. نعم.
So what is mentioned here by the author mentioned كذلك سائر التطوع. So regarding also this rule that applies to all other forms of tatawwa, all other voluntary acts that a person can do. So the Shaykh mentioned that meaning that the person, if he chooses to complete the act, he can complete it. If the person chooses to discontinue the act during the middle of the act, he can also have that. He can also do this. So, for example, the person entered the masjid regarding making tahiyatul masjid, the greeting of the prayer for greeting of the masjid, and the person have begun the salat, and halfway he decided that he wants to discontinue because this is considered to be something which is a voluntary act. So the greeting of the masjid, the salat is considered to be a voluntary act. So the person wishes to complete it, he do so. If the person start the act and he decide that he wants to discontinue, then the person can do so. And also the Shaykh mentioned that and upon the person there's no sin upon him if he was to do so. And also the person doesn't need to make it up later, so there's nothing upon him. And this what is mentioned regarding concern that it applies to salat and also any form of ibadah that's considered to be non-compulsory, so be acts of worship that are non-compulsory, then the person, if he wish to complete or to break, then he can do so, except with Hajj and Umrah. So an exception regarding Hajj and Umrah.
نعم، هناك استثناء بالنسبة للحج والعمرة. فالحج من حج حتى ولو تطوعا لا يجوز له أن يقطع الحج. وكذلك العمرة، من بدأ في العمرة حتى لو كانت هذه العمرة تطوعا لا يجوز له أن يقطع العمرة، لابد أن يكمله، لأن الله عز وجل يقول وأتموا الحج والعمرة لله، فإنه يجب إتمامهما وقضاء ما أفسد منهما. يعني إذا كان الإنسان في حج التطوع فأراد أن يفسده، نقول الحج لا يفسد، وإذا فعل وأفسده عليه أن يقضي في العام القادم. والعمرة نفس الشيء، إذا كان في عمرة تطوعية فأفسد العمرة حتى يخرج منها، نقول له تفسد العمرة لكن عليك أن تأتي بعمرة أخرى قضاء. هذا فقط استثناء بالنسبة للحج والعمرة.
So it is mentioned regarding other exception to that rule is regarding those two acts, which is Hajj and Umrah, that meaning that the person that even if he's carrying out an act of Hajj and Umrah, which is one which is a voluntary act, that the person commence or start this act, then he's not allowed to just break it and discontinue, but he should complete it, these acts. Which is Hajj and Umrah. So meaning concern a person if he was to start off Hajj or Umrah and it is voluntary, and the person that wished to break it and stop, then no, this is not allowed. The person should still go through it. If the person did something that invalidated the Hajj or the Umrah, then the person need to come back the following year and to complete it. Yeah, if he did something to invalidate the Hajj or Umrah, then he will need to come back and to make it up later. He needs to make it up later and repeat it.
نعم. الآن سيتكلم المؤلف عن الأيام التي نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن صيامها. إذن هو ذكر لك قبل قليل الأيام التي يستحب صيامها. الآن سيذكر لك الأيام التي ممنوع أن تصومها، حرام أن تصومها. قال ونهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن صوم يومين، يوم الفطر ويوم النحر. يوم النحر الذي هو عيد الأضحى. نعم، لا يجوز للإنسان أن يصوم. لماذا؟ لأنه عيد، هذا عيد للمسلمين، والعيد هو للأكل والشرب والاستمتاع بالمباح. نعم.
So the author now will be discussing concerning of those things matters relating to a siyam, that these type of siyam that is not allowed for the person to do. So certain type of fasting that is not allowed to be done, that he mentioned regarding concerning of those things, the fasting that is when it is not allowed, is the person fasting on Yawm al-Fitr wa Yawm al-Nahar. So these are the days of Eid, where the person is not allowed to fast these 2 days, as they are days concerning days of the Eid of the Muslim, whereas these days are primarily regarding that the Muslim, that they eat and they drink and they celebrate. So these days are not allowed for the person to fast. So I mentioned the person that mentioned nahi, that means the person is not allowed to be done. It is something which is haram or something which is mamnu, not permitted to be done.
نعم. ثم قال ونهى عن صوم أيام التشريق، أيام التشريق الثلاث التي تأتي بعد يوم النحر. نعم في الحج، هذا أيضا لا يجوز للحاج أن يصومها، إلا أنه أرخص، يعني رخص النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في صومها للمتمتع. نعم. أو رخص، يعني حتى في القرآن فيه إشارة لهذا، في صومها للمتمتع. متى؟ إذا لم يجد الهدي، أي إذا لم يجد ما يذبحه. والمتمتع هو نوع من أنواع الحج، هذا يعرف في كتاب الحج. التمتع، الحج على 3 أنواع، هناك إفراد وهناك قران وهناك تمتع. فالتمتع هذا نوع من أنواع الحج يعرف في كتاب الحج إن شاء الله.
So what is mentioned here regarding of those siyam that is not allowed, that what is mentioned here also regarding that, the days of those 3 days of Tashriq. So those are the days concerning after Al-Eid al-Nahr, that or those days that the one also is not allowed for one to fast these particular days. So the Shaykh mentioned that so it's not allowed to be done regarding concerning that in general regarding those people also even performing Hajj is not per se allowed for them to be done, except there's a slight like leeway regarding concerning that it's allowed, where regarding concerning the person who that did not per se have a hadi, have a slaughter to be carried out, that what they can do is and the person is performing the type of Hajj that is called tamattu. So Hajj that it have different types that it can, or types that can be done, and there are 3 types of ways of performing of Hajj. One which is called ifrad, the second is called qiran, and the third is called tamattu. So the person performing tamattu regarding that type of Hajj, that they have a leniency that if they did not have any hadi or slaughter with them, that they can fast, some of those they can fast during this time.
نعم. ثم ختم المؤلف رحمه الله الباب ببيان متى تكون ليلة القدر. متى تكون ليلة القدر؟ لأن هناك خلاف بين العلماء في متى تكون ليلة القدر بالضبط. هناك خلاف طويل في هذا، فالمؤلف بين رأيه في هذا فقال وليلة القدر في الوتر، يعني تكون في الليالي الوترية، ليست في الليالي الشفعية. في الوتر من العشر الأواخر، لا تكون في العشر الأولى ولا في العشر الثانية، وإنما في العشر الأواخر من رمضان، ولا تكون في غير شهر رمضان. نعم. إذا في الوتر ليس في الشفع، في العشر الأواخر ليس في الأوائل ولا الوسط، رمضان ليس في غيره من الشهور. نعم.
So the author he mentioned or discussed regarding this matter, which is the next which regarding concerning that relates to Laylatul Qadr. So the discussion regarding concerning Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, as we refer to as concerning when does it occur in the month. So when does this night of Laylatul Qadr occurs? So the author he mentioned regarding, so the Shaykh mentioned that there's a discussion between the ulama regarding concerning exactly when it occurs in the month. So the month of Ramadan, when does it actually occur? There's a difference between the ulama on this matter. So based upon what is mentioned by the author, he mentioned that when it occurs, that he give concerning more specific detail as to when it occurs, which is Laylatul Qadr, that occurs concerning a witr, meaning concerning that it occurs in the odd nights. So it's in the odd nights. And also that he mentioned that also it occurs at the last 10 nights or last 10 of Ramadan, nights of Ramadan. It occurs during that time, so not during the first or in the middle, but in the last 10 days of Ramadan. So that's concerning what he mentioned regarding the time that occurs. So again, regarding the last 10 in the nights that are considered to be the odd nights.
نعم. ثم ننتقل بعد ذلك إلى الباب الأخير من كتاب الصيام، وهو باب الاعتكاف. فما هو الاعتكاف؟ قال وهو أي الاعتكاف لزوم المسجد لطاعة الله تعالى فيه، أي في المسجد. فكون الإنسان يجلس في المسجد وينوي يعني الاعتكاف بمعنى ملازمة المسجد، ماذا يفعل في المسجد؟ قال لطاعة الله تعالى، والطاعة تشمل الصلاة، قراءة القرآن، تسبيح، تحميد، تهليل، دعاء، جميع أنواع الطاعات. هذا هو الاعتكاف، وهو كما سيبين المؤلف وهو سنة، لا يجب، ليس واجبا، وإنما هو سنة إلا في حالة واحدة سنبينها.
So the next thing that will be discussed in this discussion regarding the ahkam of siyam is regarding al-ittikaf. So regarding performing ittikaf, that the Shaykh he mentioned regarding concerning that he explained concerning what is ittikaf, where the person that he remain in the masjid carrying out acts of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Shaykh he mentioned concerning that so this act, so the person have the intention to remain in the masjid and to carry out acts of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these type, and so what are the acts that a person will be doing while he's in itikaf? It will include the acts concerning salah, that a person, it include concerning a person reading of the Quran, that a person doing this different type of azkar or dhikr of the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also regarding all forms of acts of obedience will be done during that time. So these are of those things that will be done. So as to be discussed, that it is something which is sunnah to be carried out and it's not something which is wajib, but that will be discussed further.
نعم. إذا كما قلنا الاعتكاف حكمه سنة ليس بواجب، لا يجب على الإنسان أن يعتكف إلا في حالة واحدة. قال إلا بالنذر، إلا بالنذر. والنذر مر معنا أمس، قلنا النذر هو أن يوجب الإنسان على نفسه، مثل أن تقول لله علي إذا أنا شفاني الله عز وجل من هذا المرض الذي عندي فإني سأعتكف في هذا المسجد 10 أيام. هذا النذر. حينئذ ما حكم النذر؟ ما حكم الوفاء بالنذر؟ واجب، يجب عليه أن يعتكف. نعم.
So as Shaykh he mentioned that as for the hukum, as mentioned here regarding, as for the hukum, the ruling pertaining performing of itikaf, that mentioned is something which is sunnah and it's not something which is wajib to be done, except in, as mentioned here regarding, except in one situation or circumstance. That circumstance is a person, it becomes wajib upon the person if the person can somewhat that he made a vow that he's going to perform itikaf. So he mentioned or this another where the person will say, for example, that if the person is ill, if I'm cured by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I'll perform itikaf for such and such amount of days. So in this circumstance, then the person, it becomes upon them that they have to carry this out as because it was a vow that was made regarding this act, so he should fulfill his vow.
قال ويصح من المرأة، يعني يصح، يجوز للمرأة أن تعتكف في كل مسجد، يعني في أي مسجد تريد يجوز للمرأة أيضا أن تعتكف. فالاعتكاف يجوز للرجال ويجوز أيضا للنساء.
So the next point that is discussed regarding concern that also that it is valid for a female, for a lady to perform itikaf in any masjid. So the Shaykh mentioned that kulli masjid, that it is valid and legitimate for a female to perform itikaf in any masjid. So any masjid does, and just as also it's permitted for male to perform itikaf.
نعم. قال ولا يصح من الرجل إلا، يعني الآن سيذكر شروط صحة الاعتكاف بالنسبة للرجل. متى يكون الاعتكاف بالنسبة للرجل صحيحا؟ قال لا، ولا يصح من الرجل إلا في مسجد. إذا بالنسبة للرجل لابد أن يكون الاعتكاف في مسجد، يعني لا يكون في مثلا في البيت. مثلا لو أراد إنسان أن يعتكف في بيته، هل هذا يسمى اعتكافا؟ لا، الاعتكاف لا يكون اعتكافا إلا إذا كان في المسجد. الشرط الثاني قال تقام فيه الجماعة، لابد أن يكون هذا المسجد تقام فيه الجماعة والفروض الخمس. نعم، إذن هذان الشرطان، المسجد وتكون فيه الجماعة. نعم.
So as for concerning that, regarding concerning that the condition that are in place regarding for a man that wish to perform itikaf, so there's certain condition that he has to fulfill that regarding concerning for a male performing itikaf. So of those conditions that has to be fulfilled is that the first condition that for the male that is performing itikaf inside a masjid. So the place that is being done is the masjid. So for example, if the person, a man, chooses to perform itikaf inside the house, then that is not valid. So of the condition that it must be done inside a masjid. The second of those conditions for the male is that also it should be a masjid for tuqam fihi al-jama'. So also in the masjid, it's a masjid that the 5 compulsory salat is carried out. So the masjid, but also the jama', which is the compulsory salat that they are established inside that masjid.
قال ومن نذر الاعتكاف أو الصلاة في مسجد فله فعل ذلك في غيره. نعم. يعني مثلا إنسان عنده اختبارات في الجامعة، فقال إذا نجحت في هذه الاختبارات فسأعتكف في هذا المسجد، مثلا مسجد بريكستون هنا، هو سيعتكف فيه 10 أيام، هذا نذر. أو قال إذا نجحت في الاختبارات سأصلي في مسجد بريكستون 20 ركعة مثلا. تمام. الآن السؤال، هل يجوز له أن يصلي أو أن يعتكف في مسجد آخر؟ فهمتم السؤال؟ يعني هو قال، هو حدد بريكستون، مسجد بريكستون في النذر، هل يجوز له أن يصلي في مكان آخر؟ ننظر ماذا يقول. يقول ومن نذر الاعتكاف أو الصلاة في مسجد فله فعل ذلك في غيره. يعني يجوز. واضح؟ فلو ذهب إلى كرويدن مثلا يريد يصلي هناك ما في مشكلة، أو يريد يعتكف هناك ما في مشكلة. طيب لماذا مع أنه في النذر هو قال مسجد بريكستون لماذا يجوز؟ ما نعرف الجواب.
هذا ليس من شروط الصلاة.
كيف شروط الصلاة؟ أنها يعني ليس من شروط الصلاة. الصلاة صحيح. طيب جيد أيضا، لكن في سبب واضح. نعم.
من شروط الاعتكاف أن يكون مسجد
جيد
يقام فيه جماعة.
جيد، لكن أيضا في جواب أوضح من هذا، ما نعرف لماذا. نقول السبب، هل هناك فرق عند الله عز وجل بين مسجد بريكستون ومسجد كرويدن؟ هل يوجد فرق شرعا؟ كله مسجد، كله بيت الله، صح ولا لا؟ فلذلك لا فرق شرعا بين هذا المسجد وبين أي مسجد في الدنيا، كلها بيوت الله. واضح هذا؟ فلذلك إذا اعتكف في أي مكان أو صلى في أي مكان فقد فعل الذي عليه. نعم. ويعني لا يجب عليه أن يتقيد بنفس المكان الذي حدده، إلا إذا حدد واحدة من مساجد الإسلام العظيمة الثلاثة التي هي مكة، مدينة، المسجد الأقصى. هذا يعني شيء آخر، different case، راح نتكلم عنه إن شاء الله شيء.
So the point they mentioned regarding concerning that man nadhara al-i'tikaf, that the person who took the oath that he wished to perform i'tikaf or salat fi masjid or in a particular masjid. So Sheikh, he mentioned that, for example, a person said that if I was to pass my exam, then I'm going to make i'tikaf in Brixton Masjid for 10 days. Or the person said if I was to pass my exam, that I'll pray 20 rakat in Brixton Masjid. So he made that stipulation regarding if he was to pass his exam. So the Shaykh, he mentioned that concerning that what is mentioned here by the author, that's the person, he made a stipulation regarding concerning if this was to occur, he'll carry out this act in this particular masjid, for example, Brixton Masjid. Then he mentioned that, so is it allowed for the person to carry out this act in another masjid? Because he stipulate a particular masjid, if can he carry out the i'tikaf or the salat elsewhere in a different masjid. So the question was asked, then he says that by what is mentioned about the author mentioned فَلَهُ فِعْلُ ذَلِكَ فِي غَيْرِ, that the author here mentioned that the person is allowed to do so in other masjid than the one that he originally stipulated. Clear? So by this, so the person said, I'll do it in Brixton, but by what is mentioned here by the author, that whether he was to do it in Croydon or anywhere else, even though he stipulated Brixton, then that act, that nadhar, is still considered to be valid. Then Sheikh asked then the next question concerning why is it considered to be valid? Why is it considered to be valid? That then in summary, that what is mentioned regarding concerning that, as for why there's no difference regarding the place that he stipulated or any other masjid, is because regarding with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all masajid are the same. No. Shar'an. So with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the masjids in Brixton or elsewhere, all masjid are considered to be equal and the same. And then the Sheikh mentioned regarding concerning that, except for the exception, and that will be discussed.
نعم. الاستثناء هو للمساجد الثلاثة، مكة والمدينة والأقصى. فهذه المساجد هي أفضل المساجد في الدنيا، وهذه الثلاثة بعضها أفضل من بعض، صح؟ طيب، فإذا نذر في ذلك في المسجد الحرام، يعني قال إذا نجحت في الامتحانات سأصلي في مكة، مسجد مكة 20 ركعة، هل يجوز له أن يصلي في المدينة؟ لا يجوز. لماذا؟ لأن مسجد مكة أفضل وأعظم أجرا، فليسوا سواء هنا الآن، ليسوا سواء. فلا يجوز له أن يصلي في المدينة المنورة. هذا معنى فإذا نذر ذلك في المسجد الحرام لزمه فيه، يعني يجب عليه أن يصلي في المسجد الحرام، ولا يجوز أن يقول سأذهب المسجد النبوي المسجد الأقصى إنه كله نفس الشيء، نقول لا it's not the same. نعم.
So Shaykh, he mentioned as for the exception is that the exception regarding compared to all of the masajid are three masajid. So those three masajid that there's an exception regarding them is Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, Masjid also in Medina, and also Masjid al-Aqsa in Palestine. So that's the three exception regarding compared to other masajid. The reason being concerned these masajid are considered the more virtuous of the masajid. They are considered to be the most virtuous of masajid on the earth. And also these three amongst themselves, also they fall in different categories. So the one in Mecca is of the highest level, then Medina, and then Masjid al-Aqsa. So the Shaykh mentioned, for example, the person wants to make this northern oath, or to say that, if I was to pass successfully my exam, then I'll pray 20 rakah in Mecca. I'll pray 20 rakah in Mecca if I was to pass my exam. So the Shaykh mentioned, if the person would say, okay, instead of doing it in Mecca, I'll go to Medina, is this allowed? So the person initially said, I will pray in Mecca, but then the person want to change and said, I'm going to do it rather in Medina. Is this allowed to be done? The Shaykh mentioned that it's not allowed, because Mecca is of the highest degree regarding concerning his virtue than compared to Medina. So it is not allowed for the person, because they are not on the same par, they are not equal regarding their level and their status. So the person is compulsory upon a person that he fulfill it in Mecca as it's of the as he had initially vowed.
نعم. ثم قال وإن نذره في مسجد المدينة فله فعله في المسجد الحرام وحده. نعم. إنسان نذر أن يعتكف أو أن يصلي مثلا في مسجد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في المدينة المنورة، ثم قال أريد أن أعتكف في مسجد مكة، يجوز ولا لا؟ لماذا؟ لأن مسجد مكة أفضل. نعم.
So the next scenario regarding concerning the person, for example, that he make an oath that he wished to perform itikaf in Medina. Then instead the person said, I will change and go to Mecca. So the person initially wanted to do itikaf, made intention for Mecca or for Medina, but then he wished now to do it, change and go to Mecca to do so. Is this allowed to be done? The Shaykh mentioned it can be done based upon that, because the virtue of Mecca is higher than that of Medina.
وإن نذره في المسجد الأقصى فله فعله فيهما. لو قال أنا سأعتكف في المسجد الأقصى، تمام، ثم أراد أن يغير رأيه فيريد أن يعتكف في المدينة المنورة أو في المسجد الحرام، يجوز أو لا؟ يجوز، فله فعله فيهما. نعم.
So the next point is regarding the person he made the intention to perform itikaf in Masjid al-Aqsa, but then the person changes his mind and that he wants to do it then in Medina or Mecca. Is he allowed to do so? Is he allowed to do so regarding that? Initially he said Masjid al-Aqsa, but then he changed and to wish to do it in Medina or Mecca. Is this allowed? And the Shaykh mentioned that it is allowed, as those masjids are more virtuous compared to the one that he initially mentioned.
نعم. ثم بين هنا ماذا يفعل المسلم في وقت الاعتكاف، يعني ما هي الأشياء التي يشتغل بها. فقال ويستحب للمعتكف الاشتغال بالقرب. القرب جمع يعني قربة، والقربة هي الطاعة، فأي شيء مما يتقرب به إلى الله عز وجل يفعله. من يعني الصيام طبعا هذا شيء أساسي، هو أفضل ما يفعله المعتكف، ثم قراءة القرآن، تسبيح، تهليل، ذكر الله عز وجل إلى آخره. واجتناب ما لا يعنيه من قول وفعل، أي شيء ليس له لا يعنيه لا يهمه، طيب الكلام الفارغ، الكلام الذي لا فائدة منه يجتنبه، أو الأفعال التي لا فائدة منها أيضا يجتنبها، يعني يركز فقط على العبادة.
So regarding concern, the next matter regarding what are those things the person who is performing itikaf should busy themselves with. So those acts that the person should busy themselves with while performing itikaf. So the author he mentioned regarding those things regarding al-qurba. So regarding concerning al-qurb, which is concerning meaning, concerning acts of obedience. So the person try to busy himself with acts and engage in acts of obedience while performing itikaf. So that will include regarding concern those acts which is getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This will include, which would be the asas, it would be of those main ones that will be concerning as-siyam, also of those other things to be done, that concerning reading of the Quran, concerning at-tasbih, and so the person busy themselves with acts of obedience that while performing. Second, of those things the person should avoid. So those acts, those actions or those things that he should avoid while performing itikaf. The Shaykh mentioned that anything of no benefit, so kalam, speech that of no benefit, he should try to avoid those things. Also any form of action, also that have served no purpose or benefit, that a person try to avoid those type of, also avoid those actions. And try to mainly focus on things that are getting him closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
نعم. ثم قال ولا يخرج من المسجد. نعم، إذا اعتكف الإنسان فإنه لا يخرج من المسجد، لأنه إذا خرج من المسجد بطل إيش؟ بطل الاعتكاف. يعني الفكرة كلها من الاعتكاف أنه لا يخرج من المسجد إلا لما لا بد له منه، يعني إلا للشيء الضروري، يعني مثل أن يذهب إلى الحمام أكرمكم الله، فهذا ضرورة، حينئذ لا بأس. إلا أن يشترط، يعني أنه هذا أجازه الفقهاء، أجازه الحنابلة هنا، أن يشترط الإنسان، أن يشترط بمعنى أنه يقول يا رب أنا سأعتكف في هذا المسجد بشرط أني أخرج للعمل في الصباح وأرجع من العمل في الظهر مثلا، يعني أنا أعتكف تحت هذا الشرط. فيقول المؤلف يجوز له أن يشترط.
So the next of those points regarding itikaf is regarding concern the person is not to leave the masjid. So the person is not to exit or to leave the masjid. So the person is to remain in the masjid. And it mentioned regarding that for the person to leave without a reason, then this is not to be done, is not to permitted. But also you have a condition, it is with an exception, where if the person leave the masjid for something which is vital, so the person leave the masjid with something which is vital, then the person have this is allowed to do so. So for example, so that's concerning leaving the masjid for things that are vital. Then it mentioned regarding concerning illa an yashtarit, that also the person may put certain condition regarding him remaining in itikaf. So the Shaykh mentioned an example regarding this, putting certain condition regarding him being in itikaf. If the person was to, so he mentioned some of the ulama of the Hanabila that they give some permissibility for the person to make a condition, to put some condition to his itikaf. For example, the person said in his condition that I'm going to perform itikaf, but I will leave in the morning to go to my work and then come back in the evening and stay in itikaf. So the condition, so he put this condition regarding giving himself some allowance to go and do work in the day and to come back during the night, that he mentions of the ulama, all that is something which is allowed.
نعم. قال ولا يباشر امرأة. نعم، هذا معروف أيضا. الله عز وجل يقول ولا تباشرهن وأنتم عاكفون في المساجد. فإذا كان الإنسان معتكفا وكانت مثلا زوجته معه أو زارته زيارة مثلا، لا يجوز له أن يقع معها في مقدمات الجماع ولا في الجماع. نعم.
So of those things regarding itikaf, that also the person that is not per se to what's the word, to bashir his wife? What's the word I'm trying to find in English?
No.
So not for the person to touch of his wife. So use the word to fondle his wife. So the person not to fondle of his wife. So Shaykh mentioned of those things which is well clear regarding al-itikaf, that a person also not to engage regarding sexual matters with his wife. So that would mean concerning of those matters that are sexual, that we consider those things that are the introduction or things that are directly regarding intimacy. So the person to avoid those things while performing itikaf with his family.
نعم. آخر مسألة ختم بها المؤلف الكتاب، كتاب الصيام، قال وإن سأل عن المريض أو غيره في طريقه ولم يعرج إليه جاز. يعني إذا هو يعني ذاهب إلى المسجد، طيب، يعني مثلا لو خرج لأجل ضرورة وهو في الطريق عائد إلى المسجد فمر بشخص مريض فسأل عن هذا المريض، قال له كيف حالك، كيف صحتك وكذا، دون أن ولم يعرج إليه، يعني أنه لم يذهب إليه في بيته أو إلى المستشفى، لا، وإنما هو في الطريق فسأل عنه وعن حاله، يقول هذا لا بأس به، لا يضر الاعتكاف. نعم.
So of those matters that discussed regarding itikaf concerning the person that while, for example, on the path, on his way, that he was to ask regarding a person performed itikaf, but he was to meet someone in the path, on the way, and in the road, and ask concerning the affairs of a person who may be ill. So it mentions, this is something which is allowed with a person asking about a person who is ill, not that he himself actually go and visit that person. So asking about the person who is ill, and the person may be walking in the road and meet someone and ask them about a person who's ill, then that is something which is allowed, but it's not for him per se to go and actually visit a person physically.
نعم. بهذا نكون قد ختمنا كتاب الصيام، ونحمد الله عز وجل على ذلك. يعني ختمنا كتاب الصيام، وأيضا ختمنا المقرر من التفسير. أيضا اليوم ختمنا 3 صور الحمد لله تعالى، ولم يبقى لنا إلا فقط أصول التفسير. فأصول التفسير هو الذي بقي معنا. بإذن الله تعالى غدا سيكون كاملا فقط لأصول التفسير بإذن الله تعالى، والله أعلم، وصلى الله وسلم بنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
So Shaykh Hafidullah, that he mentioned that with this that we have completed regarding this chapter regarding Kitab al-Siyam. So we have completed this chapter that was a part of the syllabus that we are to study. So with today, inshallah ta'ala, that we have completed. So this is what the Shaykh is, that one concerning this chapter or concerning Siyam. Also we completed also regarding what was the syllabus regarding concerning a tafsir. So that's also been completed. The only thing that remains to be completed regarding usul al-tafsir. So tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, that will be dedicated to completing usul al-tafsir. So the lesson tomorrow will be completing the book usul al-tafsir. So that is what remained with us, inshallah ta'ala. So that's concerning the matter regarding concerning for today, inshallah ta'ala, regarding what have been covered. So that inshallah, so the program tomorrow we start again at 1 o'clock. So that's for tomorrow. We start at 1 o'clock. So we'll be starting with Usul al-Tafsir to complete it. Then, we spend tomorrow trying to complete that book. So so whatever session it completes at, either the first or the second, that will be just covering only Usul al-Tafsir, as everything else has been covered.
وفقا لمذهب الحنابلة عندنا، فإنه أقل مدة ممكن أن يعتكفها الإنسان هي لحظة واحدة. فحتى لو لحظة واحدة، يعني just one moment، يجوز له أن يعتكف بالنية. نعم. يعني الفقهاء لهم آراء كثيرة في هذا. فبعض الفقهاء يقول إذا دخلت المسجد فدائما انوي إيش؟ انوي الاعتكاف. يعني لما تحضرون أنتم الآن درس، ما شاء الله نحن في الدورة نجلس مدة طويلة، يعني من الظهر إلى العشاء، ممكن أن الإنسان ينوي الاعتكاف في هذا. فعلى كل حال ليس هناك يعني أقل مدة للاعتكاف، فأقلها هو لحظة واحدة، يعني فقط يعني one moment. نعم.
Yes, so the question was asked regarding what's the least amount of time the person can spend in itikaf. So as for this mudda, the time span that the Shaykh mentioned, according to the view of some of the Hanabila, that the least that a person can remain in itikaf, it says not is actually one moment. So one like moment, minute or moment, one moment that a person can remain in itikaf. So the Shaykh even mentioned, some of the fuqaha have mentioned that whenever the person attend the masjid, he should have the intention of like being in itikaf. For example, you're here in the lesson, then you have there the intention of itikaf as you're remaining in the masjid for a certain time. So you have that discussion. So the Shaykh mentioned that there's nothing that stipulates that regarding to what's the least amount of time that one can remain in itikaf. So of the ulama who hold that is only a moment.
No. ثواب خاص للاعتكاف لا يحضرني ثواب خاص، لكن هو بصفة عامة سنة للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يعتكف في كل سنة، ولما ترك الاعتكاف مرة واحدة بسبب الخلاف الذي حصل بين النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وزوجاته فقضاها بعد ذلك، مع أنه ليس واجبا، لكنه صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يحرص دائما على الاعتكاف، فهي سنة مؤكدة يعني. لكن هل هناك ثواب معين؟ لا يحضرني ثواب معين يعني.
Okay, so the question I was asked that regarding concerning that, is there any specific reward that is mentioned regarding performing itikaf? So the Shaykh Hafidullah, he mentioned regarding, so as for that, he doesn't recall per se any specific text that mention any specific reward regarding itikaf. So so the evidence that is used kind of somewhat to prove the itikaf is something which is is recommended to be done, that the Prophet Islam, that he would do so yearly. So he'll do it, the Prophet Islam will perform itikaf regularly or yearly, and 1 year where some little matters occur that he was not able to perform itikaf, then he even made it up the following year. So he made it up, showing that the matter is something which is either recommended to be done, but there's nothing specific regarding the reward for the person performing itikaf.
ووفقا لما ذكره المؤلف، لا، المؤلف ذكر فقط الخروج، خروج المني أو خروج المذي هو الذي يفسد الصوم، لكن الانتقال لم يذكره، فالأصل أنه لا، أنه لا يفسد الصوم. نعم. نعم، هو صحيح أنه يوجب الغسل، أنه يوجب الغسل، يعني هذا يعني من الأشياء الغريبة يعني في المذهب الحنبلي. نعم.
كيف انتقال؟
يعني أن يعني عندما تحضر الشهوة، فيقول الفقهاء أن المني ينتقل من مكان إلى مكان في جسد الإنسان، لكن قبل أن يخرج، فهذا الانتقال يقولون أنه يوجب الغسل. لكن على كل حال هل هو يفسد الصوم؟ لا، لا يفسد الصوم، يعني بغض النظر عن المذهب الحنبلي، لكنه لا يفسد الصوم يعني.
دقيقة، وقت الأذان أذن.
الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله، حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
Alhamdulillah. So just the response, our translator was mentioned. So the brother asked concerning that, what's the position regarding the person that said intiqal al-mani, which is meaning that transfer or movements of the mani from one part of the body to another. Nam. So so the person might have this thought regarding al-mani moving from one part of the body to the next part, but it hasn't come. There's no discharge, but just still inside, moving from one place in the body to another place in the body, but without any discharge. So once the ruling does it, how this impact on the person's siyam? The Shaykh, as what is mentioned here, it doesn't per se invalid the person's siyam. It does not invalid the person's siyam. And they mentioned regarding this that is a view that is said to be of the view that is mentioned by some of the Hanabila. They said the mufradat of those things that are those views that are a view that is a view that is held by them, but no other madhahib. So it's the odd view that is within the madhab compared to others.
عليكم السلام.
قال العاجز لا يستطيع أن يصوم بسبب مرض مستمر، لكن العاجز لا يستطيع أن تدفع الكفارة. وثانيا في بلدنا في هنا من يعني يعتبر مسكينا يستحق الكفارة في هذه البلد.
نعم. يعني طيب هل يستطيع أن يدفع له؟ يستطيع أن يدفع له.
So the question is, so the question that he asked is that concerning that, if I got it right, that based upon what was mentioned yesterday regarding if a person's age is a person unable to fast due to that at all, he cannot fast at all, so that the person have to now pay fidya, give something as a pay something, but that person who's unable, he cannot afford the payment to feed a miskin. Clear?
هذا سؤاله. نعم.
So that's your question. And
نعم.
also that's the first part of the question.
نعم. الذي أعرفه من كلام الفقهاء أنها تبقى في ذمته إلى أن يستطيع. إلى أن يستطيع المستحق.
So it says, as for that case, the person is unable. So the part that mentions the person unable, then it still remains as something to be done until he's able. So it's like a debt that is still owed until it's paid.
نعم. وهو المبلغ ليس بالكثير يعني، لكن عموما هو هذا هو الجواب.
Yes, that's the general response.
نعم. نعم. في there's another part. نعم.
Again. who's considered to be miskin هنا في بريطانيا مثلا.
نعم نعم. من هو الشخص الذي المسكين هو الذي يعني لا يجد كفايته أو لا يجد قوت يومه. نعم. فالإنسان الذي مثلا ليس عنده عمل نهائيا هذا لا شك أنه يستحق، أو إنسان عنده راتب لكنه لا يكفيه لحاجاته الأساسية، هذا أيضا يستحق أن يعطى.
So regarding concerning what is said to be like in our situation, a person can be considered to be a miskin. So miskin in our Shaykh mentioned that as for the miskin, that is defined as the person that who does not have enough to fulfill his complete needs, right? So the person may have a job, but that is not gaining enough. He does not gain enough to fulfill all his needs. So he's still like falling short. So that's a person considered to be a miskin.
نعم.
مثلا أنا أصوم الاثنين وأفطر مع الظهر، هل لي أجر ما صمت من ذلك اليوم أم ليس لي أجر تام؟
نعم. هذه تكلم عنها العلماء أنه إذا صام يعني جزءا، النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. نعم. فلو ترجع إلى كلام الحافظ بن رجب أظن تكلم عنها في كتابه شرح الأربعين النووية، كأنه تكلم عنها، وأيضا الشيخ بن عثيمين في شرحه أيضا على الأربعين النووية تكلموا عنها، لكن الآن لا أتذكر كلامهم بالضبط. فقط الذي في ذهني الآن أنهم مختلفون فيها، لكن لا أذكر كلامهم بالدقة يعني.
So the question that was asked regarding the brother asked concerning that, as mentioned, the person that he has control over regarding that the voluntary fasting that he has control over whether complete or not to. So in the case, for example, the person that he started fasting that day, for example, on Monday, but at Dhuhr time, midday, that he decided to discontinue his fasting. Now, does the person get reward for what he did of fasting? What's the scenario regarding this? That's the question. So Shaykh said, Afidullah, that regarding concerning this matter, that from what he can recall, that some of the ulama have discussed this matter, and but he doesn't recall precisely exactly what have been mentioned. But what he can say that that Ibn Rajab, that he discussed the matter in his explanation of Arba'in an-Nawawi, and also Ibn Uthaymeen also in his explanation, but he needs to go back to say exactly what they have said in detail, but there's maybe some, what he can recall, there's some like discussion on that on the topic.
No.
هل أريد صيام تطوع؟
نعم.
هل لي أن أنوي اليوم المقبل؟ أريد أن أصوم اثنين.
نعم.
على سبيل المثال.
نعم.
ممكن أن أنوي لما أنهض بالفجر يوم
نعم.
الاثنين.
بشرط ألا تأكل ولا تشرب. نعم. حينئذ لا بأس. نعم.
ايش السؤال؟ You want to fast?
Do you need to have the niyyah to fast?
Oh yeah.
A specific day, or can you just wake up and make the niyyah?
Okay. ايش
نعم. It's okay, no problem.
Hey, Sheikh said no problem.
نعم بشرط أنه ما يأكل شيء.
Hey, so the condition, for example, the person who, for example, that he gets up that day and decide that he wants to fast, but didn't eat, so the condition that the person did not eat anything previously.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. نعم. نعم. البلاغة في هذه الآية أن ليس من عادة العرب أو ليس كثيرا عند العرب أن يأتوا بالضمير قبل أن يأتوا بالاسم الظاهر. فهنا عندما قال إن أنزلناه هذا ضمير، والأصل في الضمير في اللغة العربية أن يكون قد ذكر قبله اسم ظاهر. واضح؟ فتقول مثلا جاء زيد فأكرمته، فأكرمته الهاء تعود على زيد لأنه موجود. لكن تخيل مثلا أني أدخل عليكم الدرس ثم أقول مثلا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أكرمته، فأنتم ستقولون من هذا أكرمته؟ فسيكون هذا غريبا. فالقرآن فعل هذا، قال إن أنزلناه مباشرة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن أنزلناه. كان الأصل أن يقول إن أنزلنا القرآن، أو أن يأتي بشيء قبله ثم يأتي بالضمير، لكنه لم يفعل ذلك اعتمادا على فهم السامع أنه معروف أن المقصود به القرآن. نعم.
So after the question the brother asked that is regarding concerning balaga, regarding what was mentioned before. Based upon those things regarding to the balaga, I will not even try to translate. Not going to try to translate regarding damir and all that. I don't even know damir in English as pronouns and all those.
No problem, but he got it, right?
Hey, so the main thing, yes. So that shows concern the need that we need to learn Arabic and cut out the translators.
It was clear for you, right?
So it wasn't mentioned again in the text.
Exactly. نعم. نعم، هو لعل الفرق هو أن الظن والشك. نعم، الظن الفرق بين الشك، من يعرف الفرق بين الشك والظن؟ أيهما 50-50؟ الشك، والظن more than 50. نعم، الظن هو الراجح، يعني الذي يغلب على ظنك، يعني هذا يكون 60%، 70%، 80%، 90%، هذا كله ظن.
هو يظن أنه ليلا.
نعم.
بالنسبة للأصل أنه متيقن أنه ليلا.
هو يغلب على ظنه أنه ليل. نعم.
هو أخذ بالأيقن وأكل، فبالتالي هو أخذ بالأيقن، فلماذا يفطر؟
طيب دقيقة، وين هو؟ أيوة، ومن أكل يظنه ليلا، يعني يغلب على ظنه أنه ليل لكنه ليس متيقنا. هو أحسن من الشك، أنا أتفق معك، هو أحسن من الشك، لكن يبقى أنه ليس في دائرة اليقين. صح؟
النقطة اللي بعدها ومن أكل شاكا في طلوع الفجر لم يفسد صوم، يعني هو على يقين أنه في الليل.
نعم، هو شاك في طلوع الفجر وعلى يقين أنه في الليل. أحسنت، فحينئذ لا يفسد صومه.
ممكن نقول شك ثم ظن ثم يقين.
أحسنت. نعم.
شك أو ظن، يشك أو ظن في الليل.
نعم.
يقين أنه ليل ولكن يشك.
نعم. وأيضا هذا كله وفقا لرأي المؤلف. يعني مثلا المسألة الأولى من أكل يظنه ليلا فبان نهارا، المسألة الأولى التي ذكرتها من أكل يظنه ليلا فبان نهارا، هذا وفقا لمذاهب الأربعة. لكن شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية له رأي آخر. شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية يقول عادي، يعني لا يفسد صومه، وقال إن هذا مروي عن عمر بن الخطاب ومروي عن جماعة من السلف والخلف، فمسألة فيها خلاف يعني، لكن هذا رأي المؤلف يعني.
So inshallah, so the brother asked a question that, so in nutshell regarding concern that he wanted some further clarification regarding concern that when the author mentioned regarding al-dhan was shak. So concerning what's the difference between both. So the Shaykh, he mentioned that as for concerning that there's a difference between adhan wa shak. So concerning that adhan is when a person has that of a higher degree compared to a person of doubt, shak. So that's concerned that not of those things. Then they have yaqeen, which is the person is certain. So the person is certain about something, or the person of dhan, which is more possibly, and also regarding a shak with a person of doubt, like 50-50, and adhan, the person like above this. So you can say that. So that's what the discussion they have regarding concerning the brother asking for further clarity on that matter. So the matter, inshallah ta'ala, was clarified somewhat, but the Shaykh also mentioned that what is mentioned here is by what is stated by the author, his view on the matter. But you might find that that's the view that is shared by others amongst the Umdatul Arba regarding what is mentioned here. But also you'll find that others, like the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah, that may have a different opinion on what is mentioned here. But overall, inshallah ta'ala, because of time for as-salat, that will end for today, inshallah ta'ala, and resume next tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. As mentioned, Dhuhr, 1 o'clock, we start, and we'll be doing in specific the book Usul, al-Tafsir, and also as mentioned that there will be an ijaza, a form of an ijaza regarding concerning those who participate. So put your names down, so it is recorded, and you'll get the ijaza hopefully by the end of the day, inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow. Wabillahi tawfiq. وإياك حياك الله.